Diversity and inclusion is a hot topic these days. There's a lot of talk about it, a lot of articles written about it, a lot of questions asked when I teach, when I give keynote addresses. And I find it kind of useful to think through my own evolution of my thinking and my attitude in this regard over time as I went through my career. So I graduated, and I was fortunate to have graduated from one of the top engineering schools in India, IIT-Delhi, and one of the top business schools in India, IIM-Ahmedabad, almost 40 years ago. So I went in armed with what appeared to be a high IQ and a lot of skill sets coming out from these universities where you learn the theories of management and doing business. And having landed up in my work environments, I very quickly found that there were such a diversity of talent, and there were so many experienced people in sales, in marketing, in advertising, in manufacturing, in finance. And very few of them actually were MBAs or even engineers. So, and I found that by just listening to them, observing them, asking them questions, I could learn an incredible amount about business. So that was one of my first realizations, that in fact answers to questions lie amongst the people. And the more diverse they are, the more diverse perspectives. So you actually should not expect just an MBA, for example, to have all the answers to all the questions. Fast forward a few years, and we were lucky, we got expatriated. We went out to Indonesia. We were in Indonesia for 7 years. And that was brilliant because it was an exposure to a different language, a different culture. And I started to understand different cultural nuances, different ways and perspectives of looking at the world, and how all of this contributed to building a better business perspective. In fact, if I had gone on with my MBA kind of thinking, I very quickly realized that it would not have worked. I would have been a failure in my job at that time. Going forward over time, as I progressed through my career, I also realized that you need to look at every situation and every problem through a variety of lenses. One of my bosses at the time, Salvador Pigeon, a very influential figure in my own career, he told me when I became CEO, he says, Nandu, you have to now stop looking at things as a marketing manager, because if you continue to look at things from a marketing lens, you will be a failure. So I had to make it a point to try and step back from the marketing function and start to look at it from diverse perspectives. And the best way, again, I found of how to do this was to actually get experts in the field all around me and learn from them, learn by discussing with them, by picking their brains and by pushing them. So there's a very common leadership fallacy, which basically says, hey, listen, I got successful, I got selected for this job, I got selected for this promotion, I got selected for this position because of the skills I had, because of the great work that I did. Ergo, this is what is required. And therefore, because I cannot do all the work myself, I better look for clones of myself, look for people like me, my kind of university, my kind of skill set, my kind of way of thinking, and so on. And this is a leadership fallacy that very quickly leads to failure. Because what you need once you reach any position, you bring a certain attitude and a certain skill set, and that's very good. And congratulations for getting where you did. But to be successful, you need to get a different way of looking at things. What we need to build really is cognitive diversity. Different ways of looking at the decisions that need to be made, different ways of looking at the problems that you are encountering and addressing them. So the most important thing as a leader is to actually build in your teams the diversity of thought and thinking, cognitive diversity, so you can approach a problem from very many different ways. Now, how do you find cognitive diversity? This is not easy. So you look for proxies. And a very interesting proxy is gender. Make sure you have a gender balance in your team. Make sure you have a skill balance. Make sure you have different years of experience. People who have gray hair like me, who kind of know how to do things in a particular way, as well as newcomers who are willing to take risks and challenge the status quo. So really build a diversity of skill sets in your leadership team. The goal is to eventually build a cognitive diversity, different ways of thinking, different ethnicities, gender, skill sets, age, worldviews. All of this is very important, but that's not enough. In addition to doing that, you as a leader have to then create the psychological safety within the team whereby all of these people feel empowered and feel that there is an atmosphere of trust where they can contribute, where they can be heard, and they can actually say something that may not be the majoritarian point of view and still be heard and given a fair hearing. At the end of the day, as a leader, you make the call. You make the call because it's your neck on the block. The buck stops with you. Okay? You take the responsibility for the decision, but you give a fair hearing and you have a robust debate because that improves the quality of the decision. So it's your job as a leader to create that climate, the psychological safety within the team that encourages everybody to contribute and do their best to meet the common goal of your team, of your organization as you have set it up. Quite apart from the business logic of having diverse teams and creating a psychological climate of safety and trust, which actually leads to better business outcomes. And I found this was true as I went through my career in many of my roles. I consciously went out and looked for people who thought differently from me. I tend to be a very logical, structured kind of thinker because I'm an engineer and an MBA and I kind of trained in that way. So I made it a point to look for people who were right-brain thinkers, people who were more creative, people who came from a different worldview. And that definitely helped us put together, craft better solutions for business issues that we faced throughout my career. Quite apart from the business reasons, there is also a very important social reason to make sure you have a diversity of talent in your pool. And this is the increasing awareness and need for social inclusion so that people and pockets of population do not get left behind. But don't hire somebody only because he or she ticks a box of a gender or ethnicity. Hire them because of the value they bring, with the perspective they bring and the skill sets they bring. That way, you actually make sure you have the social inclusion and the critical diversity of skill sets that you have in a team to lead to better business outcomes. And don't forget, do create that climate of safety in your teams as you go through this. If you like this video, please do click like, please do subscribe, please leave a comment in the box, and I would love to hear from you with what your experiences have been and what you think about this. And of course, please don't forget to share this video with your friends and your business colleagues. Let's get together and really build a more diverse and inclusive workplace environment in all our teams. Thank you for listening.